Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of Definitive Discussion Rebooted, where I bring on phenomenal individuals from all over the internet and the games industry. I bring them on the show to come talk with me about a bunch of stuff. We deep dive into a lot of different things. If you guys haven't already, definitely check out the playlist on the YouTube channel. There is a lot of episodes on there, a lot of great guests, a lot of cool, interesting stuff we've talked about. So we have always had top tier conversations here, but let me know your guys' thoughts overall in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm still on the road to 10K subscribers, and I haven't hit 2K yet, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there at our own pace or whatnot. But anyway, for this episode, okay, I got a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Rousseau, who is a freelance writer who has a bunch of published work in places like US Gamer and a whole bunch of other websites that's come onto the show to talk with me about some things. So Jeffrey, what's good? Welcome. How's it hanging?
Hey, hey.
Hey.
I am good today. It's a sunny day in Florida.
Yes, it's super sunny. Thank God it's not raining. Because you know how the ADD, the weather could be. Like the one minute it's like raining, and then it's like sunny, and then it's snowing. But thank God we don't got snow down here. So.
Oh, yeah. Oof. The rain is my worst enemy out here.
For real. But yeah, you're on the show finally, because we haven't had a chance to talk, which is cool, because we've talked, we've conversed on like Twitter, which is cool, because I've read your work and stuff like that. And again, you're a freelance writer, you're doing a lot of different stuff. I saw a couple big pieces you published not too long ago, within the last, I want to say a couple weeks or a little bit longer than that. You're writing about a bunch of different individuals in the industry, which is pretty cool. I mean, how's that been for you thus far?
First of all, thank you so much. It's interesting because a lot of these pieces that are things I've been planning to write about for a while, but yeah, just having opportunity to be on these platforms to do it's great.
Yeah.
I hope I can have more pieces in larger platforms soon. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, fingers crossed. You never know. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of there's work now. I mean, granted, everything with the pandemic's been weird and stuff, but at least there's still work. The year's still young. We're only halfway through. We still got a whole 6 months. So God forbid, hopefully nothing else crazy happens. Like we get a meteor or something. I don't even want to jinx that. I don't even want to think about it. Yeah, that would
Knock
suck.
on wood, because we had like killer bees, a virus. Oh no, a meteor! I think a meteor might happen. Oh God, no.
If that happens, we're officially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, confirmed. If that actually happens, because all we got to do then we got to call all the actors. Okay, assemble the team. Eventually, gonna be like, okay, now it's time to do the job that you've been acting like for a while. Enough posing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, save us.
Right? We just need a freaking Thor over here. We're good. But anyway.
Oh my God, yes.
But anyway, to get on topic, because I know again we have some important stuff to discuss. Okay, so if you guys can let me know down in the comment section below if you guys have been enjoying the episode. Talk to me about that stuff. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, all the housekeeping's out the way. The reason why I brought you on is because I want to talk a little bit more about characters in gaming, specifically black or quote unquote minority characters in video games in general. Now, if you guys haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest that you go check it out. I did a top 5. I want to say a couple months ago, if not longer, of my top 5 favorite black characters of all time in video games. The ones I think I titled it legendary characters in gaming specifically, but it has a rundown of my top 5 favorites with some honorable mentions and stuff that I felt like, okay, these are some of the best, African American or black or minority characters I've come across in different games that I've talked about, or of these that I played in some form. So some of my favorites, again, I don't remember the list offhand, but some of my favorites in there was Doc Brown from the Punch-Out series, Sergeant Johnson from Halo, Fortune from Metal Gear Solid 2, Clementine from The Walking Dead, as well as also, what was this chick's name? Oh my God, I just can't remember. Oh, Alex from Half-Life 2. Alex, for a lot of people that don't know, she's mixed. She's half, she's half African American, I think half Asian or Oriental as well.
Yes.
Something like that.
That is
but
correct. Yeah.
But there's others on there. But again, I highly suggest you go check out the list if you ever get a chance. But Jeffrey, I want to hear from you, okay? Because I'm pretty sure you played just as many video games as me. I don't know about more though. Let's be real for a second. But talk to me about some of your favorites. Favorite black, minority, African American characters that at least you've come across.
That is an excellent question, and thank you. Immediately, one character I would love to talk about is Tommy from Children of Zodiacs.
Mm-hmm.
This title came out in 2000. I want to say 2017. It's RPG.
What platform?
It was made by, I believe, PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to double check on that. it was made by developer Cardbox Utopia. Pretty much the rundown is that it's a tactical RPG that plays kind of like a D&D dice game. But long story short, you are this young black woman who has turned to a life of crime to essentially survive in this oppressive society.
Yeah.
But there's magic, there's robots. But the message of the game is very, very beautiful because it's about her essentially just her quote unquote caretaker and realizing that everyone has been lying to her. And yeah, it's the writing so from is a great character.
Cool.
The next character jumps out to me is Dandara.
I was just thinking of that. I was literally just thinking of
Yes.
Dandara. However, I haven't finished Dandara because I planned on doing a full review of it on the channel. So I want to actually like see it in its full content because I got the complete edition, the one that came out later on that has like all the DLC
Yes.
and stuff. So I want to finish that because I got it on
Yes.
Switch. So that'll come maybe in the next couple weeks.
Oh, okay, great. That's something I can look forward to seeing from you. She is so amazing because she's actually based on a real life person.
Yeah.
And right, she's Afro-Brazilian, and she helped lead folks from oppression to safety. And in the game, she's literally this magical being, and it's like she's so powerful. Like no one can stop her, and literally, she's a one-person army. My other favorite character. Now we're gonna go back.
Go back in the
Dudley
day.
Yes, Dudley from Third Strike. Let me
Okay,
tell you, that
yeah.
was
I'm
literally
down. I'm down with that. I could feel that. Dudley, the diddles.
when oh man, I don't know. Yeah, when Third Strike hit the scene and I saw Dudley, like young me was like, who is this very dapper British black man?
Classy guy. Yeah.
I can box right in that car. Wow. Oh man. Another favorite black character. I want to.
If you can think of one more.
Yes, one more would be Twintel from ARMS,
Mm.
mainly because, yeah, when I was playing ARMS, I had no idea this wacky game had all these characters, and then here she came, and I'm like, wow, that's an awesome black woman.
Definitely got the internet's attention. I'll definitely say that. I've seen the fan art. I've seen all that stuff all over the place.
Yeah,
You know how the internet is.
but that's definitely. But outside of that, no, she has a lot of personality, and it's great to see what developers can do with characters of color when they have the opportunity. And yeah, she's great. I do want to give an honorable mention to Marina in Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
She's a very interesting character. Love her commentary, and her banter is hilarious.
Yeah, true. And now understand for everybody listening to this. Now, there's many others that obviously we didn't mention because there's a bunch.
So many.
Funny enough is that there's so many, even though that the majority of them don't get put out into the spotlight enough, or at least talked about in a way that's insightful and good. Because I mean, even you were mentioning Street Fighter before, I would mention Elena as well. I would mention Balrog, from Street Fighter 2. I mean, the list goes on and on. Sean, yet again, the list goes on and on. But here's the thing that I want to deep dive into, and I think we should deep dive into this because I don't think enough people discuss it as much. What makes those types of characters interesting? What makes a good character that, whether a minority or not, that makes someone appealing? Because for me personally, and again, to use myself, as someone, again, as to start it off, is like I find that a lot of the minority characters that I gravitate towards, or at least again, it could be black, it could be Hispanic, it could be Asian, anything that's non-Caucasian like that, is usually the ones that I feel like are the most interesting when they have either an interesting character trait that I could relate to, not just the skin color and not just the background and stuff, but something that kind of like, it's like the Superman approach where Superman is always trying to see the good in people, is always trying to do the right thing. That's a very relatable thing that people want to be like and want to aspire to. I find like characters that have something like that can end up being really good and really interesting. And I find that even in minority characters that are not necessarily my skin tone or not necessarily my race, where again, you look at a character like Clementine, from The Walking Dead, and granted she's living in like a crazy world where there's zombies and stuff like that, but she's always trying to find different ways to survive and make the tough decisions because that game is all about making decisions and consequences and stuff. And it's little things that you could pull from like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole issue?
No, you're absolutely right. It's what is it about these characters that make them human? And and they're just not okay. Here's Black person X. When I think about Nami, going back to Children of Zodiacs, what makes her such an endearing character is that she's literally fighting an entire empire, and throughout the game, you're experiencing what is like a day or two of her trying to survive. What is essentially, it's like a hit is put out on her. She's like public enemy number one, and she's trying to survive. But along the way, she maintains her humanity, where she's like, I don't want to hurt all these people. I'm just trying to survive. All this needless violence isn't necessary. And she maintains her humanity. And there's even points where, she's not happy about the decisions that she makes.
Yeah.
And those are like very real conversations you have with her. And she's even in a position where she tells another character, it's like, just because these people want to hurt us, that doesn't mean we have to do the same thing. And I think that is so well written.
It's complex.
Despite all this. Yeah, right.
It's funny that you say that, because I think it's both a good and a bad thing, like depending on where you're looking at it. Because for certain characters that are really well handled, again, we're talking more specifically minority characters, and in this case, Black characters or African American characters. Right. But this could be applied to all types of characters, where sometimes, depending on the type of game, the complexity can make things a little bit more interesting, even though it's not necessarily might be a good thing. Now, on the flip side of that, you look at a character like, just to use an example, like Coltrane from the Gears of War franchise. There's a hard argument that you can make that could be a character that's just tokenized, that's just there for the sake of being there to fulfill a check mark. And I can understand the arguments for other characters too. Even some of my favorites like Balrog from Street Fighter 2. I think you can make that argument for some people to be like, yo, he's just there to fulfill this type of character or this archetype or whatnot. And granted, a little bit of a parody on Mike Tyson, I get it. But like, the reason why sometimes I feel like as interesting or as fun as those characters might be, they might always, in my opinion, be the best for showcasing the best of those types of characters that are put out there, because it feels like they're so one note. And like the complexity I feel like is what really makes things a little bit much more interesting to pay attention to, where you're not just seeing, okay, this is tokenized Black character number one, this is tokenized Hispanic character number one, or this is like this type of character because we have to have this to appeal to this audience. Like, I feel like there's a lot more gray and a lot more thought that goes into them besides stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right, and I'm glad you mentioned Barog, because he's kind of a character that I kind of grapple with, but at the same time, let's be real, he's a part of Shadowloo, right? He's one of the
4 kings. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a bad person from the jump. We know this. So of course he's not gonna fight fair. He's not gonna necessarily, follow the rules of engagement. Like, I don't know if you remember, but back in Street Fighter 4, like his story bits with with Dudley, just the way he approaches him or whatever, and I'm like, this guy isn't a fair boxer. Like, I get it. Like,
he's dirty.
Fights dirty, right? And when you look at it at that prism, it makes sense. Sure, there's some tokenization, but at the end of the day, he's not a good person.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then, because I think I just thought of an example that could be looked at as a bad example of like a character that just happens to be this and doesn't really fulfill a lot of these other things we're talking about. Do you remember the game Shadow Man? The main character Shadow Man?
Yes.
Okay, because I know that gets brought up as like, oh, this is another Black or African American character you should pay attention to and stuff. But I think that one of the reasons why Shadow Man never really clicked with people is because I felt like that game was very one note and very, again, it's been years since I played, but very one note and not as like interesting outside of the fact that it just happens to be this type of character and this type of setting. Because I believe it takes place in New Orleans or in the South. Like, there's a lot of like stereotypical things that pulls from, involving a lot of the voodoo aspects and some of the other mystical elements to Shadow Man. I think there was like 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. I remember the one on N64, something like that along those lines. But it's been years since I played it. But that's an example. I could look at that and be like, okay, I could not really feel like this being one of the best, minority characters out there. This seems like a little bit so kind of like a product of its time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah. Actually, that's a good example, because what I would say in that same breath is that I don't know if you played Prototype 2. But,
yes, I did. I didn't finish it, though, I should say. I should put that little asterisk there.
Oh. But let me ask you, this is a perfect, lead into that. When that character, did you feel, I felt he was pretty one note, but given your experience with the game, did you feel that there was more to him than just grr, I'm an angry black man?
Honestly, I think it also, the fact I didn't finish it is testament to that, because I didn't really connect with it. And I honestly, God, because it's been years now. I don't even remember when Prototype 2 came out. It's been years since I last played. And I remember, I think I played it because I had it from a friend. And it's like one of those things, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't remember much from it other than the powers, where, again, the person has like weird like powers and stuff around them in the environment. Because it was cool when it was different in Prototype 1, but with Prototype 2, I feel like, again, whatever was up with that game didn't resonate with me. And again, it became
Mm.
unmemorable. Is now thinking it back now, I didn't even remember that the main character
See,
was minority. That should say something.
right? No, no, and that's why I brought that up because my time with the game, I didn't find it very memorable either because he was pretty much a stereotype. It's like I'm trying to, you try to connect with the character so that I can help, you know, cite you about the narrative, but
Yeah.
it wasn't there for me. It wasn't.
You
So
know
it's just,
something? You know something? I think also you don't necessarily need to connect with the character fully to be really kind of like the character, or really get it with what's going on. Like, I don't
right.
connect with everything that's going on with Solid Snake, in the Metal Gear franchise. I
Yeah.
think it's cool being a spy and hiding in boxes and having that dope music that goes along with everything. I mean, that's pretty cool. But like, I think there's like little pieces and bits of a character that you could kind of relate with that really stick with you. And I didn't think I got any of that with Prototype 2. Now I think about it.
Yeah. Right. No, 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 definitely. You're absolutely right. That's why I brought that up because it just felt like
Yeah.
no, this is not good.
Now, let me ask you this then. What do you think about, again, applying it more to minority, black, Hispanic, Oriental, etc., non-Caucasian characters in any type of game? What do you think about those types of characters being the support characters to the main character? Like a perfect example of this would be Signet from Metal Gear Solid 3 and I think Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Signet, for anybody that doesn't know, has never played this game, Signet is the tech guy. He's kind of like the
Right.
Otacon of that era, but like he's one of the not the he I think he becomes one of the Patriots like later in the timeline and stuff, or some
Yeah, I
other thing
believe
like
so,
that.
yeah.
But what do you think about that, like being a support character?
Um, I'm glad you brought that up because that's I feel like, and maybe we're on the same wavelength here. As we've been, since we've been little to up until recently, we've mostly seen people like ourselves in the support roles.
True.
Like you mentioned, like Signet. Man, I'm trying to think of another game where a lot of the support characters were minorities.
I would
But
even say
yeah,
Doc. I would say Doc Lewis in Punch Out. Even though I like Doc Lewis, he's
yeah,
straight up a support character to Little Mac.
yes. And, I can't think of an example right now.
I think also that
Well,
other guy
actually,
from
no,
Metal Gear
one,
Solid 4. I forgot his name, but I think he's the other
man.
tech guy. You know what I'm talking about with the hair?
Drebin, yes.
Drebin. That's his name. Yeah.
Drebin, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect example. Yes, thank you. Um, it's one of those things where it's just like, are we only support characters? And
I think also Dom and Cole from Gears of War. That's another one I just thought of now.
mm-hmm, yep, absolutely right. Yeah. Um, the thing about that is that I remember playing through the campaign of Gears with my friend, and I remember even like joking about that. It's like here we are playing this next generation of games, and again, we're not really leading the story. We're in the background providing support.
So let me ask you this then, because I think this is also important that we should acknowledge. Is it more important to have a good character in the lead, or is it more important to have a character that looks like us in the lead? Because even for me as a minority, I would rather wait and have a better, much more fleshed out, figured out and designed character than just any character that just looks like me or looks like anybody else in that role. I feel like it does the justice where it's like, okay, here, you want a black lead character? Here you go. Here's a black lead character. And I think that's wrong because I would rather have a character that looks more kind of like Killmonger or comes off like Killmonger from like Black Panther. If anybody's seen Black Panther, the way that he's written
Right.
in the lead or in some sort of like leading role, as opposed to just some random person, like again, like a Drebin or like a Signet and stuff. I'd rather have that much more figured out. Am I wrong to think that way?
I'm in the camp where I do agree with that. One of the worst things you can really do is have a marginalized character not be good because it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Like
It's
it really
it's
does.
not good at all. Yeah, no, it's just not good. It's yeah, no, we just can't have it. It's 2020 now. No.
Like, how does one know that when they're falling into that? Because for me, the way I recognize that in any for me, it's not just gaming now, but I mean, we could open it up to that. But really, it's when the story or whatever's happening in the plot and stuff has it where not just when the character's being stereotypical, but when they're just not contributing much to what's going on, and I'm not getting anything from them being there. That's when I feel like that's when I realize, okay, this is becoming more marginalized like that.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Is one thing when we're playing these games or watching these films, we have to think about this character that you see on screen. If they were removed from the entire film or game, would anything be lost? If the answer is no, nothing would be lost, then they weren't done well. Justice wasn't done for this person. Now, if we remove them, like say Final Fantasy VII, if Barrett is entirely removed, that's a problem.
Yeah, right.
That's a problem, right? Yeah.
He's a big chunk of that game, and especially in I think that they handled him a lot better in the remake now because they had a lot more, I think, a breathing room with time and also little things that they could just add into it to not only respect the franchise or at least the legacy of the game, but also to add more to kind of give us something new, which I feel like they're really Barrett's whole arc and his whole thing with Marlene in remake specifically is pretty cool. Like it's one of those things that surprisingly caught on to me when I was playing it.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. I agree. I mean, granted, for anyone listening, I don't like what they do with his voice acting, but that's besides the point.
They changed it.
But
for
his character, yes, they did. But his character, like you said, his character arc, I do find him very endearing as a character. I don't want to get into spoilers, but like the conversations he has with Cloud and Tifa about like what quote unquote is the right or wrong thing, I'm glad that he's the one having these conversations with them about that, because it's just like, you don't just save the world. There's consequences to things. That's great. And Marlene, like, awesome. Like, all those scenes are just like, this is great.
It's really interesting just overall with them. But I think also, besides like the serious stuff with Barrett, which has great stuff, the thing that got to me is the more comedic stuff. Like the little conversations, the banter during battle. Like I remember playing the demo before the game came out, the demo with when you're fighting against the Scorpion tank. And there's a whole dialogue. I'm pretty sure it's in the final game, but like in that demo, there's a whole dialogue that Barrett and Cloud have during that fight where Barrett is trying to fight the Scorpion tank and he's not using the magic he's supposed to use. And Cloud's like, I told you you're supposed to be using the magic. He was like, well, what do you expect me to do? It was like, use magic. It was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like I didn't realize. Like it's just funny the way it happens, and it's just like one of those things is like I remember that, and it was just interesting to kind of like really stand out to me like that. Now, one thing I do want to ask though that I think would be a good way to wrap everything up. Is it necessarily marginalizing a minority character by allowing them to be different shades of a character, meaning that allowing them to be either good or evil? Because it doesn't always mean just because a minority character is, bad, doesn't necessarily mean that they're being marginalized. Like, it's not always trying to be like that typical, like, almost stereotypical, almost borderline racist type of interpretation of a character. Because I think that the way you have good characters means that they could be either good or evil and interchangeable between them, or they could be gray. Because obviously there's been years of storytelling in movies and games and comics and stuff where that's become an issue because of bad writing and stuff like that. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, am I coming at it from the right perspective?
No, you're right. And again, it's how you handle it. But at the same time, we want to keep in mind about the optics. Like, yes, of course, we could have a character that's evil, like you or myself, that these group of heroes are fighting against. But one thing we always have to be careful about is that a villain can't have my skin tone and everyone else is not brown or black.
Like what happened? Like what happened with Resident Evil 5. That's a perfect example of that, where the optics of that was really, and it was more because it was a white person or Caucasian person gunning down all these zombies that just happened to take place in Africa, which looks bad. So like in the context of everything, I got it, but that was one of those things where PR had to be like, okay, let's think about this for a second.
Yes. That right there, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Let's avoid that. But if you can avoid that, yes, it's totally fine as long as they're well fleshed out. Yeah, anybody can be good, evil, or gray. And again, this goes back to the point that you're making. As long as we do the character justice, where we shouldn't ask ourselves, are they adding anything to the story? As long as they are, perfect. If they're not, that's where we have problems.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that when you're watching or you're experiencing it, at least in our case in a game, if you're not thinking about that type of stuff, that means that you're actually enjoying it. And it actually means that they're actually doing their job. They're making that work in that type of way. It's in the same way, again, to go back to a movie like Black Panther. When you're watching that movie, even though there's a lot about it involving black pride, about masculinity, about being black in modern day and stuff, as someone like me who is an African American, I can at least relate to it because there was a lot of lessons, a lot of things that it was touching on that are very that could be very open to a lot of people. It's very I forgot the word for it, where more people than just the target audience could actually get something like that. And I felt like that's what made that movie so good. It's like, okay, I got it. Like I can understand where Killmonger is coming from. I can understand where T'Challa is coming from, or where everybody else in their perspective lies. And I think we need more of that in games. You know, we get it a couple times here and there. Like, again, I keep going back to The Walking Dead, where I feel like there's a lot of that there in some way in its own interpretation. But, like, we need more of that in other types of games.
No, right. I agree. And that, again, goes back to a larger, more nuanced conversation where we could literally be here for all day. But, yeah, you're right. It just goes back to whom is writing these stories or whom is in the room. But, yes, I totally agree.
Definitely. So that's going to be a good way, I think, to kind of put the pin on this, because we're going to talk a little bit more on EX mode. We're not, Jeffrey, thank you for joining me on this convo. It's fun. It's cool. Finally, we get to talk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let everybody know where you're at right now. You're on the socials.
Yes, you can find me at, well, pretty much you'll just find me on Twitter at JR, my initials, JR Potential, all one word. And yeah, you'll see me ranting and raving about things, games, pop culture, thoughts.
A lot of stuff, because I always see you talking on there. Yeah. You're always talking stuff, being spicy.
Yes. Oh, yes. Spicy tweets, because the landscape is very spicy right now.
Yeah, that is very, very, very spicy. Like somebody just took like a ghost pepper. It just dropped it on the internet.
Yes.
That's how it feels like sometimes. Like, oh, God. But,
oof. Yeah.
But anyway, guys, if you're listening to this now, go show Jeffrey some love. Go send him some owl hugs, a whole bunch of owl pics if you guys can. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Let me know if you enjoyed it down in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget also to join the Patreon. Remember, for $1 or higher, you guys get a ton of exclusive content, including the EX mode we're going to record right now after this. So if you're listening to this now, go check out the EX mode that's on Patreon by the time you hear this. So from both of us here, we will talk to you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.